Hello and welcome to my studio. I'm Jessie and this is the Knit Up and Dye podcast, episode 45, Catching Up. I am so sorry. I have been not doing this. It's been 3 weeks since my last podcast and I have great excuses. I really do. And it's really hard when you've gotten out of the habit of doing something to get back into it. So please bear with me. I have my cheat sheet and I know what I want to talk about, but I think it might be a little rough this week just because I'm out of practice. As always, I'd like to start by saying hello and welcome to my new subscribers. I love you guys. Hi to Susie, Shauna, Louise, Elke, Gina, Jody, Marie, and Deanna. Welcome. If you have any questions, if you have anything you'd like me to say, see, show, demonstrate, please let me know. A simple message here on YouTube or over on my group in Ravelry, and I'll do everything I can to respond for you guys. Also, a special warm and loving hello to Betty Ann, Evie, David, Melissa, I'm sorry. I am working on a seamless join for the Infinity Longtail cast on. I'm so busy right now that I haven't had good time to really focus on it, but it's burning in the cooker here, and I'll get you some answers. As well as warm hellos to Katie and Carolyn and Kate. Hi guys. So, I missed you guys. I missed you guys a lot. And last weekend I had every intention of sitting down and doing a podcast. I had my notes and was all ready to do that, and I got on my computer and I started to clean some files and move some stuff around, and I'm not real comfortable with the idea of my stuff being off in the cloud, especially my copyrighted materials. And I got confused, and I was looking at my OneDrive and I was thinking that this was my cloud drive, and I realized that I had like tax documents and I had my files in there and I had my podcasts in there. I was like, I don't want this stuff in the cloud. And so I started to delete things. About the time I deleted my podcast folder from what I thought was the cloud, and a message popped up and said, this folder is too large to put in your recycle bin. Are you sure you want to delete it? And I had this mindset, delete it! I hit delete, and then the back of my mind went, why would it be going in the recycle bin if it's just deleting off the cloud? It wouldn't go into a recycle bin. It would just come off the cloud and reside on your laptop. If I were deleting files from the cloud, that would have been the case. And if I were deleting files from my computer, then it would be going to my recycle bin. And as soon as I realized that, and I mentally reread the message that I had just approved, I realized I had been deleting these files directly off of my laptop. Panic set in. I deleted all of my podcast files, including my opener, which I love so much. I have permission to use that song. It's from an artist that I adore. Bob, thank you again for letting me use your song. I love it. I had knit that swatch. I'd set up this whole filming thing. I designed that entire opener. I timed it all out against the music. It took a lot of work, and I'm very proud of it. I really love it. I deleted it. If you've gotten this far in, you're going, but Jess, it's attached to this episode. It is. And thank you, Internet. I found a deleted file recovery software called Recuva and was able to use it, and although I wasn't able to get most of my podcasts back, that's okay. They're archived on YouTube. I don't actually need those files. I was able to get my opener back. Thank you. It took 5 hours and obviously derailed me from filming last week, but I got my files back, and now I've learned valuable lessons, and I'll be a lot more careful about what I delete from my laptop. If you have ever deleted anything, from your computer and it is no longer in your recycle bin, there are ways to recover it. Do a deleted file recovery search in Google, and there are a number of free softwares available that will enable you to pull stuff back from the great beyond. I did. I found Recover. I liked it. It was easy to use, and I'm writing a review. I'm so grateful. So grateful. Yeah, I was really crushed, and when I realized it was gone, even my husband was like, "What are you gonna do?" I was like, "I don't know. I don't want to refilm it." And we both were so relieved that I was able to get it back. Anywho, moving on. I've had other technical challenges over the past 2 weeks. My cell phone, which it's a cheap nothing, not even on it's on a month-to-month plan. It's a very inexpensive phone. It is a smartphone. Well, it was smart 2 years ago. They dumb with age. And it has decided randomly to play pranks on me. It will ring when nobody's calling. The volume will randomly go up and down. I have a timer set on it so that when I leave for my lunch break, it counts off the time that I'm away, and it gives me an alarm so I know when it's time to go back from my lunch break because I don't wear a watch. And it's randomly going off in the middle of the day at work very loudly, despite the fact that it's on vibrate only. That's been fun this week. And I've gotten some comments from some people about how deaf I actually am, that I think my cell phone needs to be that loud. Not my choice, folks. I'm sorry. I really keep it quite quiet usually. I don't use my cell phone at work. It's tucked in my bag, and it's a scramble when that thing decides to play with me and go off, and I'm digging under my desk, smacking my head on the underside of my desk, trying to find that stupid phone. So anyway, the long and short of it is, I have gone out, I've bought a new smartphone. The place that I bought it from did not have protective cases for it. They're crazy thin. I'm really rough on everything that I own. So I'm waiting for my protective case that I had to order online to show up theoretically Monday. And once that's on there, I'm transferring my number to this phone, and I'm taking the old phone, and I think I'm going to pitch it off a bridge. And most likely when it's underwater, it'll still try and ring. It's been a long, it thinks it's funny, I don't. Further challenges that I've had over the past 2 weeks, because I'm just going to share. You're stuck with me. This is it. I'm sharing. I work in an office with cubicles. About, has it been a year now? About a year now. They decided to lower the walls on the cubicles. So the wall used to be, when I was sitting down, it was about this high, and now it's this high. It's Kilroy high, so you can see this much of everybody in my office. The email that they sent when they lowered the walls to our cubicles indicated that they wanted to stay ahead of office fashion and be innovative. Their words, not mine. What happened was, we ended up losing a little bit of privacy, a little bit of sound dampening, and protection from everybody's coughs and colds. So from the far corner of my office, I heard the first sneeze, and it jumped from pod to pod. And slowly the ick and creepy crawly came across the office, and it hit me last week. Now, I didn't get full-blown sick. I fought it off valiantly. I did very well. I have, my tea and vitamins, and I did really, really well, but I just was exhausted all week. So much so that I'd go on my lunch break, which I've told you guys before, that's my big knitting time. I get a good hour in, and I wouldn't even pick up my needles. I'd just sit there. I'd check my email. I'd message friends. I'd think about taking a nap. I checked my phone to see if the timer was still working. It wasn't. I couldn't remember what time I punched out. I'd go back in a couple minutes early thinking I was safe. I'd sit down at my desk. I'd put my phone away with the alarm off. Half an hour later, the alarm would go off. It's been a trying week. It's been a trying week. My husband was also away for one of the weeks that I didn't video with you guys. He does this amazing camping trip off the back of his motorcycle. And this time he went up into Utah. He saw beautiful, beautiful things. He shared all of his photos with me last night. Last night was the slideshow, and just gorgeous. Oh, I wish I had been with him. Not only because I missed him desperately when he was gone, but he got to see such beautiful, beautiful things when it wasn't raining. I like a hotel over a tent any day. But when he was gone, I thought, oh, I'll do my podcast. Maybe I'll do a double episode. This is how it all started when he was gone last year on a camping trip. That's when I started this. And so I thought that was all good, but I started to get that from work, and then taking care of the house without the other half doing a lot of chores is really a lot of work. So it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. I also lost a day, a weekend day, when I went to go and upgrade my driver's license to a Real ID driver's license, which my home state is behind on doing that. We're just getting to the point of doing that. I have a trip coming up this fall. I want to make sure that my ID is proper for all the airports and everything, because I am hearing reports from other people that they're getting some static in some of the other airports if they don't have a Real ID. So I went to do that, and I got all my paperwork together. I did my research. I looked it up online. I had a folder with everything in it. And looked up what time the motor vehicle division was opening, and I got there 15 minutes early, and I was third in line. I was like, yes, I'm doing this. This is great. I'm, for the first time ever, in and out of the motor vehicle. And walked in, met this great guy. He looked over my paperwork. I actually had excess paperwork, so I was all set up. Everything was good. He built my profile on the computer, and he's like, let's go take your photo. I'm like, okay. I went, I sat down, I gave him my mugshot. Went back to the computer. Yeah, the camera's down statewide. Okay. I brought my knitting. I'm just going to sit down, and you let me know if the system comes back up. It came back up in under a half an hour, which was nice. Went back, took another photo, and the photos weren't importing over to the computer that they use to attach it to your profile. Okay, waited, took another photo, went over, photo went over, everything went over, profile was gone. Rebuilt the profile, paid my fee. Yes, I have a new Real ID coming to me, but I lost a day doing that I really, boy, I thought I was ahead of the curve. I really thought I was in and out of there in 15 minutes, and it's a dream. It's a dream to get out of your motor vehicle division in under 2 hours, and I came close. Came close. Anywho, so yeah, I've had a number of personal challenges that got in the way of my videotaping, and believe it wasn't because I didn't want to do this. It's because, yeah. Anyway, so I did get some knitting done when I was feeling better, and when my husband was home and was able to do our morning commute and drive, so I could knit on the road in the morning. I don't know that I got anything done on my blanket since I saw you last. I had been knitting on it outside. Yeah, I guess I got a few squares done. I think I told you I did this little orange one. I think that's where I left off last time. And since then, I've got these 3 here done. I've got a long way to go, but I love this. And now that the weather's getting crisp, it was nice and cold this morning. It was not barefoot weather on the patio for sure, my little toes. The weather's getting really crisp, and that's when I just dig into this, and I love this. And I expect that I'm going to start getting a lot more of it done. Certainly, if not immediately, after my trip in November, it'll be a good time to really dig into this and sit under it and be warm while I work on it. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in just a second as well. Let me tie this back up. I try and keep this all together because otherwise it all rolls around and dogs get tempted to play with brightly colored objects. I'm also working on my sweater. My sweater is the Jen pattern forgive me, I need to look this up. Josie Packlin, I love her designs. This is the Jen pattern. Let me see if I can pull up the picture to show you. Good grief, I am sorry. There it is. Love it. Easy to work, easy to understand, easy to read. I'm really happy with it. I have one sleeve all but done. Her particular design has you do a short row shaping down at the cuff of the sleeve. I've decided I don't want that for this particular sweater. So I have completed the sleeve down to the point where the short row shaping would begin. There's my sleeve. Look at that. Yay, finally, I made big progress here. And I'm just going to put a cuff on it. I'm not going to do the short rows. Just not my thing for this sweater. I love where it's gone. I love what it's doing. I love the V-neck on it. I love the color of yarn that I did. I like the split hem. I did not short row and round the back. I kept the back straight. Again, personal preference. But as soon as I do the cuff on this, I'm picking up this sleeve and we're going to get that done. And I have theoretically 5 weeks to finish this, which sounds all well and fine and easy, but you gotta focus to get things done, don't you? You have to actually sit down and do them. For this particular stopping block, I need to find my double pointed needles for my cuff and just get that cuff done, and then I'm going to pick up the other sleeve. So I'm going to set this right here, and it's by where my double pointed needles are, and when I'm done with this, that's what I'm going to do, because I need to finish that. I really want to finish that today. And I'm actually going to put the pattern with it, because otherwise I'll create another stumbling block. There. So that's my focus. I really want to get that done. I did do some other knitting, mainly for kit design, and I'm going to pause real quick here and go and get my sample so I can show you. 1 second. All right. So I'm creating little kits for the holidays. They're not available quite yet. I'm still pulling everything together. But I wanted to make a little stuffy kit that you could use mini skeins on. And I came up with an idea of kind of redoing a pattern that I had talked about doing in the past, and that I've seen variations of in the past, and that my son has knit variations of in the past. Let me grab the little cat that he made me. They're fun, they're cute, they're little stuffies, they're friends. And I decided to kind of redo the little owl that I used to knit and make him a pattern so that I could distribute him with a kit. And so here's my little owl. Isn't he adorable? I think he's super cute. It's knit with 2 fingering weights held together, and then I just embellished with little felt eyes and beak. Well, I had 2 20-gram skeins of fingering minis that I held together. And when I got all done with this guy, I realized I had significant yardage left over. And so I knit him a little friend in a size smaller. And I love it. I think it's super cute. So we have an owl and a little owl. And I still had significant yardage left over from 2 20-gram skeins of minis. And I love the texture. I love how the yarn all comes together and just makes kind of a feathery look. And I thought, well, how much yardage do I have left? And I did some math, and I realized I could make another little friend. Except my other little friend was much bigger. So I ended up with a set of 3 little owls that you can make completely from 20 grams, from 2 20-gram skeins of fingering weight yarn held together. And this is going to be a pattern that I'm going to distribute in a kit. It is currently available on Ravelry. It is called the Owlet Set. It is 50% off as part of my Harry Potter 50% coupon. So please feel free, if you love these, pop on over and use the coupon code WIZARD, and you can get these at 50% off, which I think brings it down to, it might be under $1. It might be under $1. So this is what I've accomplished. I didn't finish a sleeve, I haven't finished my sweater, but I made a set of 3 owls. And I just love them. I think they are cute as sin. I put the little beads inside, the little stuffing beads inside, and then I put fiberfill on top. You could put a rattle insert in here. Yeah, it's really about making sure that your gauge is tight enough that none of the fiberfill or anything can come out, and then it's safe, and if you stitch things on safely, it's safe for little kids. But of course, you know, I have to warn you, small parts. But they're fun, and they're great little stress relievers because you can squish them. And certainly if you get frustrated with everything going on in your life, you can throw them. And there's great joy in that. And you can have fun with the faces. You can do all kinds of gobbly eyes and weird beaks and bug eyes on them. And I love them. I think they're great fun, and I really enjoy chucking them across the room when I've just had enough. There's something very satisfying about throwing things and knowing you're not going to break anything. Not that I'm actually trying to hurt owls. I love owls. But they fly beautifully. Also, because I've been thinking a lot about kits lately, I'm reworking a design that I did years ago, and I'm making a hat. This is a short row shaping hat, and it's done straight back and forth on the needle. And by doing the short row shaping, as you can see just with me holding it up, it creates this cone, it wedges it around, and you end up with just one seam where you'll take out a provisional cast on and seam together at the end. Clearly this one is not done. It is still a sample in process. But my whole point of making this was A, to reverse engineer a hat that I had made my husband that he has had now for about a part of 10 years, that he refuses to give up. He lives by it, he loves it, it lives in his pocket of his jacket, and I would really like to replace it, but it's meaningful to him, it's important to him, he thinks it is the perfect hat, he will not give it up no matter how manky that thing gets. I'm only allowed to wash it. But someday that hat will die, and he'll want a new one, and I needed to reverse engineer it to have a future hat available for him. But I also have been playing with the variegated yarns that I'm dyeing. I love doing hand paints. I love doing variegated yarns. They are gorgeous in the skein. But when you're all done with the skein, you need to be able to knit something with it, and you want that project to be attractive. And unfortunately with a hat, because it is knit in the round for the body of the hat before it tapers at the top, you have a set number of stitches. And with variegated yarns, it's really easy to end up with pooling and flashing, and that may not be the most attractive way to use a variegated hand-painted yarn. So I wanted a hat that had the opportunity to use that variegated to the best of its beauty. With the short row shaping, it keeps that variegated really alive. Let me turn this so you can really see it. It keeps the variegation really alive, and you get very little pooling. There's a little bit of too much white maybe there, and maybe a little bit too much white there, but overall, you're not getting huge lightning bolts. You're getting this really scattered look. I love it. I think this really brings out all the color and all the beauty of the yarn, simply by always having a different stitch count every row. You don't get the pooling as much. You don't get, it just makes the best, it makes the best of it. So I am reverse engineering this. I'm rewriting up my instructions, and this is not a pattern that I previously had available, but I will be making this pattern available in the near future, and I certainly will announce to you when it is ready. I'm still debating on the name of the pattern, but only because it is a unisex hat. I would name it after my husband immediately, except that I don't want the name to confuse people on Ravelry and make them think automatically that it's a men's hat, when in fact it is very unisex. Anybody could wear this. And I'm tempted to put a palm on it or a braid on it, but we're going to see what happens when it's all said and done. I don't want anything that's going to deter from the beauty of the yarn itself. But certainly, you do what you want to do. If you want to palm it, if you want to braid it, if you want to put ears on it, you do whatever you want to do. It's about you. So this is in progress. This is coming. As are all the kits that I'm working on. The kits for the owls, the kits for the hat. It's all in process. And I do have some kits built. You see my stack here. These are headed up to Unwound in Wisconsin, and they will actually be arriving with me when I'm up to visit them in November. I'm so excited about going up. I can't wait to see the shop. I can't wait to meet Carolyn and Kate in person. Hi guys, I'm so excited. But I'm creating these kits, and these kits will also be available in my Etsy shop. Gift ready, ready to go. If you decided that you wanted to wrap this as a gift for somebody, the handle lays flat, and then you've got a nice box that's easy to wrap. Otherwise, I consider this attractive. I think it's very, very attractive. If somebody gave me a kit like this, I would be thrilled. Has the information about what the kit contains, the pattern that's attached to it. All the patterns have a Ravelry download code as well, so that if they get the hard copy in here and they want to add it to their Ravelry library, they can just by entering the code. Stitch marker, if appropriate, is in there. All kinds of goodies. And I'm thrilled with the way these are coming out. I can't wait to add them to my Etsy shop and have them available for everyone. These are in process, as you can tell. I'm stacking them up all over the place, getting ready for you guys. What else? Obviously, if I have been knitting designs and I've been putting together kits, I've been dying like crazy. And my studio looks shaken, not stirred. Sure, I've never really given you guys a good view of this. So I'm going to pop up real quick and show you the mess that is the madness. So you know this space, this is where I broadcast from, and we're just going to turn around over here a little bit. There is the desk and the computer. That's where the pattern writing and supposed genius comes in. And you can tell that I'm a genius because I have a whopping mess. There's stacks of stuff everywhere. Further around the corner is storage and my blocking table. My blocking table is currently staged out with tons of yarns that I've recently dyed that are prepping to all get loaded into kits. Behind the table, you see my closets. I have them curtain closed out right now. They store the yarns that are in my Etsy shop as well as my own personal stash. And the giant boxes on the floor behind the table and in front of the closets are actually fresh stock that has come in that I still need to dye. Further around my extremely messy studio, there's the egress so that when it all blows up I can get out. Then I have my mantle with my beautiful jars of scrap yarn. I love scrap yarn. I love leftover bits from projects because if I have to swatch something, if the base is the same, the color doesn't matter, and I can swatch with my leftovers, I also have the potential to do all kinds of other things with this. Blankets, stripes and hats, stripes and mittens, a different colored lace edge on a shawl, you name it. There's tons of potential in that, and I know that some people consider leftover yarn to be clutter. It's art as far as I'm concerned. I get to see all my colors in my jars here. I get to let it launch new ideas. I love it. And then back around to my guest seat and my crazy bookcase, and then that spot from which I come to you. There, you get to see an impromptu, messy studio tour. Obviously, I don't do my dyeing in here. You've seen me do my dyeing in the kitchen. This is my favorite place to sit and knit unless I'm on the sofa with my husband in front of the TV or in my car. Yeah, passenger seat of my car is also one of my favorite places to knit, simply because I get a lot done there and it's a happy time for me. But my studio is very personal. The room is designed completely for me, and as much as I love order and organization and everything put away and in its place, sometimes the chaos of stuff in progress stirs up creative thought, makes me think differently, makes me see two colors together on the table that I wouldn't normally choose together, and be like, yeah, I want to do something with those two together. So it's very inspiring to have this kind of mess in my head. I've seen a lot of other studio tours online, and I envy them because they're always these beautiful, clean, neat, organized places. And then I think, oh no, you cleaned that to be on camera. I'm on to you. This is reality, folks. This is the way it is. And if you pop by my house anytime and you come into my studio, it won't look much neater than this unless I'm going out of town and I'm nervously nesting and I decide to clean before I go. This is it. This is the madness. All right. Clearly, I'm just off the cuff today. So, what am I going to talk about today? Well, I had some ideas. I did very much want to have a demonstration today. Melissa had gotten a hold of me and had said she really wanted to see a seamless join for the Infinity Longtail cast-on that I had demonstrated before. The Infinity Longtail cast-on is when you use both the middle draw from your cake and the outside draw from your cake, and you tie them together and you longtail cast on from that, so that you don't have to estimate out how far to begin your cast on. But to seamlessly join it, you've got two tails at your leading edge, and we need a nice way to do that so we're not tying knots to tighten things up and to keep everything nice and even. And that is something I'm going to mess with, and I'm going to engineer, and I'm going to come up with a good solution for you. If I can't find a good solution, I'm going to make a good solution. I just haven't had the time to focus on that and do it right and give it justice and the attention that it needs. So we're not talking about that today. What I am going to talk to you about today a little bit is needle choice. I think it's an important topic. I think people, there's a lot of prejudice out there about needles. And I'd like to get rid of some of that and empower everyone a little bit. So what do I mean by prejudice in needle choice? Well, everybody has a favorite, and everybody has an ideal, and everybody is the expert in their own life. That having been said, podcasters are always talking about what their favorite tools are, their favorite yarns are, and saying things like, oh, you have to have a set of this needle. They are the best. They are the fastest and the shiniest, and oh, look at the set. It's all inclusive, and isn't this wonderful? And I've shown you guys. I bought this Addi Click set. I love my Addi Click set. But I love my Addi Click set. That doesn't mean it's the right needle set for you. You don't have to feel pressured to buy any product that any podcaster reviewed, and you don't ever have to think that because it works for them, it'll work for you. Get the needles, get the tools that you love, that work for you. Spend the money that you want to spend on your tools. There are some advantages to certain materials when you select needles. There are advantages to certain point types. There are advantages to different formats of needles. When podcasters talk about working with certain needles, they're talking about their personal enjoyment of working with that needle on that project. What we fail to listen to is that which is not said. What that person said when they said, oh, I love my Addy clicks for this project. Done it, said it. Was I didn't try bamboo on this project. I did not try plastic or Tayson needles on this project. When I cast this on, I went to the needles that I had and I used them and I enjoyed the product. Had I not enjoyed it, I would have changed needles. And at that point, I might have said, I started my project on my Addy clicks. It just wasn't working for me. I changed over to my Clover bamboos. We don't often hear that. Usually people have already purchased tools that they're comfortable with and they use them start to finish on a project. And they don't run into stumbling blocks. They don't have the need to go and change needles and comment on that. What makes a needle good for you? I like a needle that feels good, that the weight is not obtrusive to me, that I don't notice the weight of the needle. I like a needle that slides smoothly in and out of my yarn loops. In some situations, I like a bamboo needle because it's a little toothier and it grabs onto an otherwise slippery yarn and helps me complete the stitches with ease without feeling like I'm chasing loops around or that it's slipping or falling off or I'm dropping stitches. In some situations, I already have a toothy yarn and I want a very slick needle. And when I'm looking for a slick needle, I'm looking for a nickel or a brass needle. It depends on the situation that I'm in as to what tool I'll grab. I look for the best tool for the job. If I'm comfortable using metal needles on all yarns, that's what I'm going to gravitate to. And if I'm comfortable using wood needles on all yarns, that's what I'm going to gravitate to. There are a lot of voices out there that say, oh, why would you use those needles? You should only use, and they have a favorite that they recommend, and they have a tendency to be a little bit pressuring, making some people feel that their tools are inferior. If the tool does the job, it's the right tool. I don't always have a hammer at the ready when I need to put a nail in the wall. Sometimes the heel of my shoe works just fine, and you know what? That nail goes into the wall regardless of whether I used a hammer or the heel of my shoe. It did the job. It was the right thing. I was comfortable using it at the time. That's what works. That's what you should use. Use what's on hand. Use what works for you. I like the feel of a needle. I like the warmth of a needle. I like the slide of a needle. I like the sound of a needle. I've had needles that I disposed of. I gave away to other people because I didn't like the sound it made when it clicked. Sometimes it just has a noise or a feeling or a texture that rubs you the wrong way. And other times you find a needle that is the right place for you. It is warm, it is home, it is the right texture, the right feel, and it doesn't matter if you spent $2 or $200 on it if it's the right thing for you. I just wanted to let everybody know, that what it is for you is what matters for you. If it's the right thing for you, nothing anybody else says should matter. And if it's the wrong thing for you, if the recommended needle isn't gelling with you, go find what works for you. And don't listen to all the other voices. They don't matter. They're not living in your body. It's not wrong. It's different. I just want to empower all of you to be happy in this process, to enjoy this art form, to have fun doing it, and not ever feel that your fiber choice or that your needle choice or that your pattern choice is in any way inferior. If you're working with a really tight budget and all you can handle is some acrylic fibers with some bamboo needles and some free patterns, and you make something beautiful that you're proud of with it, who is to say anything about that? Certainly not me. And if you're struggling to pay for expensive hand-dyed wools and metal needles, and you're keeping up with the rest of the group and you're dropping $7 on a hat pattern, and it all knits up and you think it is awful and you won't wear it and you don't want to give it away to anyone, that's not an experience that you want to repeat. That's not an experience that you should have ever suffered. Do what makes you happy, always. Even if it is just succeeding in a 15-minute visit to the MVD. That's it. That's my needle rant. And I'm sure that a lot of you are like, I do what makes me happy anyway. Good. Good for you. Yay. All right, folks. I am going to do everything in my power to broadcast to you again next week. If you have questions, if you have something you'd like to see demonstrated, please don't hesitate to send that information to me or your requests. Sometimes it takes me a little while to process and come up with a good answer for you, but I will do my best to do it for you always. And I hope that you're loving your needles and loving your fiber choice, and I hope you're enjoying, if you're in the northern hemisphere, this lovely crisp fall weather that's coming in that makes us just want to stitch away. And if you're in the southern hemisphere and things are starting to warm up, I hope you're looking at a nice lacy shawl that's going to wrap you into the cooler nights of spring, and you'll enjoy that as well. And I'll see you all next week. Bye.
Pack it, pump it, pack it, pump it, pump it, boom, from the hammer hard.